Hey everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what is heart rate variability. So if you've kind of been in the health, wellness, fitness area for a while, you've probably heard something about heart rate variability or HRV. Okay, so what this is, if we just look at the name, heart rate variability. So basically this is the variability or the change between our heartbeats. Okay? And so what that means is as our heart's beating, right? There's actually a difference in the length between the beats. Okay, so if we go and then there's like say a certain length of time, a millisecond, 2 milliseconds, more than that, but you know what I mean, between the next okay? And that alters depending on a couple different things, depending on our breathing. So a great way to check this, if you just take your finger, if you find the muscle, that guy, the long one, just put your hand on here. You've probably done this before on your throat. Feel your heartbeat. Okay, so for me, right? Now, as you breathe in, you'll notice the pulse actually increases. As you breathe out, it decreases, unless you're in a really stressful state. Then it's almost the same consistently. Okay, so right now, just resting, put your hand on your throat, find your heartbeat, and then take a deep breath in. Exhale. So you can tell it substantially slows down, probably, unless you're in a stressful state again, then it'll probably be constant. So for me, it was like, it was like as I breathed out. So in a healthy state, what you want to have is you want to have variability between the heartbeats. So as you breathe in, you want to have it be a certain speed, and as you breathe out, you want to have it slow down. So you want to have the variability between our breathing as we breathe, between heartbeats. You want that time to actually increase. Okay? So I got bones here. So what's actually happening is our heart has nerves to it from our brain, obviously, right? Directing the heart to beat. And it automatically happens as part of our autonomic nervous system, right? Or our automatic nervous system. And then we also have nerves going from our heart back to our brain. And what's interesting is actually 80% of the nerve fibers that are connected to our heart from our brain are going from our heart to our brain, not the other way around. I'm going to say that again. So 80% of the nerve fibers that connect our brain and our heart together, 80% of them go from our heart to our brain. And that signal going back to the brain is actually telling the brain about the state of our heart. So that's really, really interesting because it's really signals that go back to our brain from our body. They're called afferent, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, versus something that goes out like, I want to move my arm up like this. You know, I consciously think that very quickly, but I think about it, the brain sends a signal to my arm raises. That's called efferent, an effect, you can think, E-F-F. Afferent is coming back to the brain. So that's really interesting. So things like a heartbreak, like when you're heartbroken, emotions you feel, people talk about the heart. Well, 80% of that information from the heart is actually going back to the brain, which is super cool. So by doing meditations and heart-centered feeling gratitude, feeling things of the heart, as cliche as that is, when you do that, you're able to actually change this rhythm and adjust the variability between heart rate, between your beats, which is what you want to have increased heart rate variability. I'll talk about the benefits and all the heart rate variability stuff in a second. But that's kind of, you can alter it by doing that. And an organization called Heart Math, I'll link them below. They've done a ton of research on actually how to alter your heart rate, heart rate variability, how to alter it, how to work with it, and specifically what it means for our health and well-being. A ton of research and really well-documented studies, and they're doing a lot around the world right now with heart rate variability. It's pretty cool. So why does this matter? what is heart rate variability for our health? Well, when we're in a state, they call it incoherence. So when we're in a state of stress, anxiety, we just feel amped up, a little anxious, irritable, anything like that. Basically, we're not in a relaxed space. And so there's many things go on in the body in those states, but we're not in a healing space. We're not in a space of relaxation. I talk about the vagus nerve in a lot of videos. I'll link those below as well. And basically our vagus nerve is connected to this whole heart rate variability as well. So when we're in a coherent state, when we feel good, emotionally we feel connected to ourselves, other people, divine, God, that larger spectrum of life. Our vagus nerve is active. We're in a coherent space. We feel safe and centered and grounded. And our body is in a healing space, in a connected space, in all ways. And so it's super important. And also in that coherent space, it tells our body that we're safe, like I said, but also it's in a space of regeneration. Okay, I said healing, but it literally leads to muscle tone decreasing, again, vagus nerve being activated, which has numerous effects throughout the body. So how do we get this coherent state? So one of the most important things you can do and the most beneficial things is to focus on your breath. Okay, so specifically for heart rate coherence and to increase heart rate variability, you want to focus on having an even length between the inhale and exhale. Not too much. Depending on what you're trying to do with breath, you can do different things, right? You can be very stimulatory by breathing in longer inhale, or going, right? More like the breath of fire they talk about in yoga. If you increase your exhale really long and your inhale really short, it leads to a really strong relaxation response. And when we talk about heart rate coherence or increasing heart rate variability, it's not a I'm really relaxed right now. It's not a post-massage feel where you're just like, you feel kind of out of it and you're relaxed. A coherent state is a state where you're alert, you feel centered, you feel grounded, you feel good in your body, you feel connected to yourself, other people. It's a very living my life in an unanxious but able to move forward way versus just completely zoning out and being exhausted, which has benefits for healing but can also be really unhealthy as well. So where was I going with that? So how to increase that? So for breathing, so you want to have the same inhale versus an exhale. So for example, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Okay, so a lot of heart rate coherence stuff talks about increasing the variability based on this. I'm going to tell you a tool that you can get that helps measure your heart rate variability as well, which is pretty cool. No affiliate links. Okay, so let's just try this together. So let's check right now your heart rate variability again. So breathing in and out. Do it again, in and out. So as you noticed, you might not have noticed, but see how the inhale changes versus the exhale with your heartbeats. Are they faster when you inhale and you exhale? Do they get slower? Because if they don't, then you're probably in a little bit of an incoherent state and your heart rate variability is not variable. Okay. And just before I do the example, I want to say one more thing. This is very key. What this heart rate variability is measuring, I should have said this at the start, but what this is really measuring is the nervous system's flexibility and the ability to, in that autonomic or automatic part of our nervous system, breathing, heart rate, all those aspects, the ability to have flexibility and not be in this state of all the time, which is usually a stressful state. Okay, so that stressful state and that lack of variability can indicate illness or dis-ease or eventually those things, right? Not for sure, but like it shows that the nervous system is very, we'll say, stringent or strict. It doesn't have that variability and flexibility. So if you have a really stressful event in your life, it can just overwhelm you and just, you're not able to hold it, see it. Okay, I see you. I'll work with that versus it just totally overwhelming you. right? Which can lead to very incoherent states and lack of variability. So increasing variability will assist you in everything, because it helps you monitor your nervous system and be in a healthy space. Sorry, that was like the answer to the question of the video was at the 10-minute mark, but that's what it is. Okay, so let's just try this again. We'll do a breathing practice. So with heart rate variability, we're going to first breathe. We'll do about 3 or 4 breaths, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, nice and even, in the nose, out the mouth. Okay, as we do this, we'll do, like I said, let's just do 3 breaths actually. And then I'm gonna have you put your hand over your heart as well. That physical contact, that's another discussion, but it has some benefits because you're bringing awareness to your heart. So as you're breathing, I want you to actually imagine your heart. So you can look down at your heart or just feel it beating and think about it beating. And then after 3 breaths, we're gonna do 2 breaths, so 5 total, 2 breaths where you're envisioning something you're grateful for or something you love, whatever you want to. Okay, I might just envision that like really nice tree that I'm grateful that I can look at that, or something like that. Just think of something you're grateful for and envision that feeling. That feeling of joy will actually help change your heart rate variability and increase it. Okay, so first breath in, you can close your eyes if you want. Envision your heart as you're doing these first 3 breaths. Okay, so breathing in for 5. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Now imagine something you're grateful for that you love or appreciate, or someone you love or appreciate. Beautiful. Now check your heart rate again with your neck. Breathing in. Good. Mine stayed about the same because I'm a little anxious making the video. But ideally, you'll see a change there, okay? So that's how you can alter heart rate variability, through the breath, through thoughts, through gratitude. There's other ways. Okay, but a lot of the same things that help your vagus nerve help heart rate variability. So again, I'll put those vagus nerve videos below. But yeah, that's what heart rate variability is. And if you ever get electrocardiogram or an ECG where you have like the heartbeat thing, and you see that, right? You can just measure this yourself by looking at the distance between the heartbeats. Just literally measuring it on the sheet of paper. I know this isn't common to have those, but you could do that if you have that. Lastly, I want to mention one piece of technology you can do to actually measure this formally from HeartMath. Again, in the link below, you can get these are called M-Wave Pro, they call them. Basically, you clip on this thing onto your ear, and this measures your heartbeat, because the heartbeat, it goes through the ear. There's a small beat there. And then basically it measures the variability between your heartbeats. And it also has a thing on the front with a light. You can kind of see the little thing there. That lights up, showing you where to breathe. I found them always a little bit like, for me when I used these, just to be honest, I found it got me in my head a little bit because I was thinking about being recorded. So it actually affected me anxious-wise, which made my heart rate variability worse. So I didn't find this super effective, but a lot of people really do. And it's really cool to see because it actually shows your coherence, so you can practice it. So these are called, again, the M-Wave. I think this is the M-Wave Pro. This is an external hardware. You can also get something for your phone that's just a clip-on that works great as well. It just uses Bluetooth. That's an option as well. But that's the information on heart rate variability. I know it's a bit scattered, but I hope that helps. And look at the links below. I hope that helps you out with your health. Awesome.